When the Princess of Wales rolled up her sleeves at a small textile factory in Cardiff, no one expected her to announce she wanted to make a pair of jeans from scratch for Prince William. What started as a routine royal visit turned into an unexpected 3-day adventure that would test Kate's determination, surprise the local workers, and create a viral moment that showed the world a side of royalty they had never seen before. Sometimes the most genuine connections happen when you least expect them, and sometimes the best gifts come from the heart of someone willing to learn something completely new. The morning sun cast long shadows across the cobblestone streets of Cardiff as Princess Kate stepped out of the royal car, her usual polished appearance slightly different today. Instead of her typical designer dress, she wore dark jeans, a simple white blouse and comfortable flats. The crowds that had gathered along the barriers cheered enthusiastically, but Kate seemed focused on something beyond the usual wave and smile routine that marked most royal visits. Today's destination was Davies Denim Works, a family-owned textile factory that had been operating in Wales for over 60 years. The factory specialised in creating high-quality denim products, from basic work jeans to designer pieces sold in London boutiques. What made this visit special wasn't just the royal presence, but Kate's genuine interest in learning about the craft that kept this small Welsh community employed. As Kate walked through the factory doors, the familiar smell of cotton and dye filled her nostrils. The sound of sewing machines hummed in the background, creating a rhythmic melody that had been the soundtrack to this place for decades. Workers paused their tasks to catch a glimpse of their royal visitor, but Kate immediately began asking questions about their work, showing real curiosity about the processes involved in making denim. Margaret Davies, the 70-year-old owner whose father had started the business, greeted Kate with a warm handshake. Margaret had worked in this factory since she was 16. And her weathered hands told the story of countless hours spent crafting quality garments. She had been nervous about the royal visit for weeks, but Kate's genuine interest in the work put her at ease immediately. The tour began in the cutting room, where massive rolls of denim fabric were transformed into precise pattern pieces. Kate watched intently as skilled workers used electric cutting tools to slice through multiple layers of fabric simultaneously. The precision required impressed her, and she asked detailed questions about how they ensured each piece was cut perfectly to create jeans that would fit properly and last for years. Moving to the sewing floor, Kate observed workers operating industrial sewing machines with incredible speed and accuracy. The complex process of assembling jeans involved dozens of individual steps, from attaching pockets to reinforcing stress points with extra stitching. Each worker specialized in specific tasks, creating an efficient assembly line that could produce hundreds of pairs of jeans daily. But it was at the design station where Kate made her unexpected announcement. Looking at sketches and fabric samples spread across a large table, she turned to Margaret with a mischievous smile that suggested she was about to surprise everyone present. "I have an unusual request," Kate said, her voice carrying the slight nervousness that comes with asking for something completely outside normal protocol. "William's birthday is coming up, and I'd love to make him something personal. Would it be possible for me to learn how to make a pair of jeans here?" "I know it sounds crazy, but I think it would mean more to him than anything I could buy." The room fell silent for a moment as Margaret processed this unexpected request. Royal visits typically involved carefully choreographed tours, polite conversations, and photo opportunities. No one had ever asked to actually work in the factory, let alone learn a complex skill like denim construction. Margaret's face broke into a wide grin. "Your Royal Highness would be absolutely delighted to teach you, but I must warn you, making a proper pair of jeans isn't something you learn in an afternoon. It takes skill, patience, and quite a bit of practice." Kate's eyes lit up with excitement. "I have time, and I'm not afraid of hard work. When can we start?" The news of Kate's request spread quickly through the factory floor. Workers gathered around, offering encouragement and sharing their own stories of learning the trade. Many of them had started as apprentices, spending months mastering basic techniques before moving on to more complex tasks. The idea of teaching a princess these same skills filled them with pride and excitement. Sarah Jenkins, a master seamstress who had been working at Davies Denim for 35 years, volunteered to be Kate's primary instructor. Sarah had trained dozens of apprentices over the years and had a reputation for being both patient and thorough. She sized up Kate with an experienced eye, noting the princess's genuine enthusiasm and wondering how those perfectly manicured hands would handle the demanding physical work ahead. The first lesson began immediately. Kate was fitted with a proper work apron and safety glasses, transforming her appearance from royal visitor to factory apprentice. Sarah started with the basics, explaining the different weights and weaves of denim fabric, how the cotton fibers were treated and dyed, and why certain construction techniques had evolved over decades of refinement. Kate picked up a piece of raw denim, feeling its weight and texture. The fabric was much heavier and stiffer than she had expected, requiring significant force to fold or manipulate. Sarah explained that this stiffness was actually desirable, as it would soften and conform to the wearer's body over time, creating a personalized fit that couldn't be achieved with pre-softened fabric. The measuring process proved more complex than Kate anticipated. Creating jeans that would fit William properly required precise measurements not just of waist and inseam, but of rise, thigh, knee, and leg opening. Sarah explained how small variations in these measurements could dramatically affect comfort and appearance. Kate carefully recorded each measurement, double-checking her work with the attention to detail that would serve her well in the challenging days ahead. Pattern making was the next crucial step. Using William's measurements, Kate had to create paper templates for each piece of the jeans. This involved mathematical calculations to account for seam allowances, the stretch characteristics of the specific denim being used, and the slight variations that would ensure proper fit after construction. Kate worked slowly and methodically, asking questions about every step and taking careful notes. The cutting phase required steady hands and complete attention. Working with industrial-grade scissors designed specifically for heavy denim, Kate carefully cut each pattern piece from the fabric she had selected. The deep indigo denim she chose was a classic weight that would create durable, long-lasting jeans with the potential to develop beautiful fading patterns over years of wear. As the afternoon progressed, Kate's initial nervousness gave way to focused concentration. The workers around her offered advice and encouragement, sharing tricks they had learned over years of practice. The atmosphere became increasingly collaborative, with the formal distance typically maintained during royal visits dissolving into genuine camaraderie. Margaret watched from across the room, amazed by what she was witnessing. In her decades of running the factory, she had hosted politicians, business leaders, and even celebrities, but none had shown the genuine interest and willingness to learn that Kate displayed. This wasn't a publicity stunt or photo opportunity. This was a woman genuinely committed to creating something meaningful with her own hands. As closing time approached, Kate surveyed her progress. She had successfully cut all the basic pieces needed for a pair of jeans. But the real challenge lay ahead. The cutting had taken much longer than she expected, and she was beginning to understand why Sarah had warned her about the time and skill required for this project. The factory workers began cleaning their stations and preparing to leave for the day, but the energy in the room remained high. Word of Kate's project had spread throughout the small community, and people were already talking about returning the next day to see how the princess would handle her first attempt at actually sewing denim. Kate carefully gathered her cut fabric pieces, treating them with the respect due to the first steps of what she hoped would become a meaningful gift. She thanked the workers for their patience and guidance, promising to return early the next morning, ready to continue learning. As she prepared to leave, Margaret pulled Kate aside for a private conversation. "Your Royal Highness, what you're doing here means more to our people than you might realize. This community has faced challenges over the years, with many factories closing and jobs moving elsewhere. Having you here, learning our skills and valuing our work, it gives everyone a real boost. This experience has already taught me so much. I had no idea how much skill and dedication goes into making something as seemingly simple as a pair of jeans. I'm looking forward to continuing tomorrow." The drive back through Cardiff gave Kate time to reflect on the day's events. Her hands were slightly sore from the unfamiliar work, and her clothes carried the faint scent of the factory floor. But more than that, she felt a sense of accomplishment and connection that was different from most royal engagements. She thought about William and how surprised he would be to receive jeans that she had made herself. The gift would represent not just the finished product, but the time, effort, and new relationships that had gone into creating it. In a world where they could have anything they wanted, the most valuable gifts were often those that couldn't be purchased. That evening, Kate researched denim construction techniques online, wanting to be as prepared as possible for the challenges ahead. She watched videos of expert seamstresses working on industrial machines, trying to absorb as much information as possible about proper technique and common mistakes to avoid. The second day would bring new challenges as she moved from cutting fabric to actually assembling the jeans. The precision required for professional quality construction would test her patience and determination. But as she prepared for bed, Kate felt excited about returning to Davy's Denim Works and continuing her unexpected apprenticeship in the ancient art of creating clothing by hand. The story of the princess learning to make jeans was already spreading through social media and local news outlets, capturing public imagination in a way that traditional royal engagements rarely achieved. People were fascinated by the image of Kate working alongside ordinary factory employees, learning practical skills and creating something with genuine personal meaning. But for Kate, the real value of the experience was just beginning to unfold. Tomorrow would bring the challenge of operating industrial sewing machines, learning complex stitching patterns, and discovering whether her determination could overcome her lack of experience in this demanding craft. The early morning light filtered through the factory windows as Kate arrived at Davies Denim Works for her second day of learning. She had barely slept, her mind racing with excitement about the challenges ahead. Today would mark her transition from cutting fabric to the intricate art of sewing, a skill that would truly test her determination and patience. Sarah Jenkins was already waiting when Kate walked through the factory doors, her experienced hands preparing the industrial sewing machine that would become Kate's workspace for the day. The machine looked intimidating, much larger and more complex than any home sewing machine Kate had ever seen. Its metal body gleamed under the fluorescent lights, and the array of controls and attachments suggested capabilities far beyond simple stitching. "Good morning, Your Royal Highness," Sarah greeted her with a warm smile. "Ready to discover why we call this the challenging part?" Kate laughed nervously as she tied on her work apron. "I spent half the night watching sewing tutorials online, but I suspect the reality will be quite different from videos. The first lesson involved understanding the machine itself." Sarah patiently explained each component, from the tension controls that would ensure proper stitch formation to the various presser feet designed for different types of seams. Kate took careful notes, asking questions about every detail. She learned that working with heavy denim required specific machine settings, higher tension levels, and specialized needles designed to penetrate multiple layers of thick fabric without breaking. The threading process alone proved more complex than Kate expected. Industrial machines used multiple thread sources, and each had to be threaded through a precise sequence of guides and tension discs. Sarah watched carefully as Kate practiced this fundamental skill, correcting her technique and explaining how improper threading could result in broken threads, skipped stitches, or uneven seam formation. "The machine is only as good as the operator's understanding of it," Sarah explained, as Kate struggled with her fifth attempt at proper threading. "These machines can sew leather or sail canvas, but they require respect and knowledge to operate safely and effectively." Once Kate had mastered the basic machine setup, Sarah introduced her to the concept of seam types and their specific purposes in jeans construction. She learned about flat-felled seams, which created the strong, distinctive stitching visible on the outside of quality jeans. These seams required precise folding and multiple passes through the machine, creating joints that could withstand years of stress and washing. The pocket attachment process became Kate's first real sewing challenge. Jeans pockets required precise placement and reinforcement stitching to prevent tearing under the stress of regular use. Kate watched Sarah demonstrate the technique, noting how the experienced seamstress guided the heavy denim through the machine with confidence and control. When Kate attempted her first pocket attachment, the results were less than perfect. Her stitching line wandered slightly, and the tension wasn't quite right, creating uneven stitches. But Sarah remained encouraging, explaining that even experienced seamstresses had struggled with their first attempts on industrial machines. "This is completely normal," Sarah assured her as Kate examined her imperfect work with disappointment.
Industrial sewing requires muscle memory that takes time to develop.
"The machine moves fast, and controlling heavy denim takes practice." The morning progressed with Kate practicing basic seaming techniques on scrap fabric. She learned to control the machine's speed using the foot pedal, discovering that consistent, moderate speed produced better results than rushed attempts. Her hands gradually developed the feel for guiding fabric through the machine while maintaining proper seam alignment. Margaret Davies stopped by periodically to check on Kate's progress, bringing tea and encouragement. She shared stories of other apprentices who had struggled initially but eventually became skilled craftspeople. These stories helped Kate maintain perspective when her stitching didn't meet her perfectionist standards. "Even my daughter took weeks to master industrial machine work," Margaret told Kate during a brief break. "She started here as a teenager full of confidence and quickly discovered that skill comes only through patient practice." By lunchtime, Kate had successfully completed several practice seams and was beginning to feel more comfortable with the machine's behavior. Her stitching lines were becoming straighter, and she was developing better control over the fabric feeding process. The physical demands of the work were also becoming apparent as her shoulders and arms ached from maintaining proper posture and controlling the heavy materials. The afternoon brought the challenge of working on William's actual jeans. Kate approached her first real seam with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This wasn't practice fabric. These were the pieces that would eventually become a wearable garment. The pressure to achieve professional results made her hands slightly unsteady as she positioned the fabric under the machine's presser foot. Sarah stood close by, offering guidance and encouragement as Kate began her first seam on the actual jeans. The thick denim moved through the machine more slowly than the practice fabric, requiring greater attention to maintaining consistent feeding speed. Kate concentrated intensely, her tongue poking out slightly as she focused on keeping the seam perfectly straight. The first seam proved successful, creating a strong, even join between two pieces of the jeans. Kate felt a surge of pride as she examined her work, noting that while it wasn't perfect, it met acceptable quality standards. Sarah nodded approvingly, pointing out the areas where Kate's technique had improved from her morning practice sessions. As the afternoon progressed, Kate worked on attaching the front and back panels of the jeans. Each seam required careful planning and precise execution. She learned about the importance of backstitching at stress points, creating reinforcement that would prevent the seams from pulling apart under normal wear conditions. The waistband attachment proved particularly challenging. This component required precise measurement and alignment to ensure the finished jeans would fit William properly. Kate measured and remeasured, pinning the waistband in place before attempting to sew it. The multiple layers of fabric and the curved seam line tested all the skills she had learned throughout the day. During this complex procedure, Kate made her first significant mistake. The seam puckered slightly where she had sewn too quickly over a thick junction point. She stared at the imperfection with dismay, wondering if the entire project was ruined. Sarah examined the problem area with an experienced eye. "This is fixable," she announced, much to Kate's relief. "We can carefully remove these few stitches and resew this section." Mistakes happen to everyone, even with decades of experience. The seam removal process taught Kate another valuable skill. Using a small seam ripper, she carefully extracted the problematic stitches without damaging the surrounding fabric. The process required patience and precision, as one careless cut could create a hole in the denim that would be impossible to repair invisibly. Resewing the corrected section went much better, and Kate felt proud of her problem-solving capabilities. The experience reinforced Sarah's earlier teachings about the importance of patience and attention to detail in creating quality garments. As the workday neared its end, Kate assessed her progress. The basic structure of the jeans was taking shape, with major seams completed and the overall form becoming recognizable. However, significant work remained, including hem finishing, hardware attachment, and final detailing, that would transform her construction into a polished, wearable garment. The other factory workers stopped by Kate's station throughout the day, offering tips and sharing their own learning experiences. Their support and encouragement created a sense of community that Kate found deeply meaningful. These people, who could have been intimidated by her royal status, instead embraced her as a fellow learner struggling with the same challenges they had all faced. Tom Williams, a master craftsman responsible for hardware installation, explained the upcoming challenges Kate would face in her final day. Installing rivets, buttons, and belt loops required specialized tools and techniques that differed significantly from the sewing work she had been mastering. "The metalwork is a different skill entirely," Tom explained as he showed Kate examples of properly installed jeans hardware. "It requires precision and strength, but it's also satisfying work. There's something permanent about setting a rivet properly that gives you confidence in the finished product."
As Kate prepared to leave for the day, she carefully examined the partially completed jeans.
The garment was recognizably taking shape, but she was beginning to understand the complexity involved in creating seemingly simple clothing items. Every seam, every attachment point, every detail required specific knowledge and careful execution. Sarah helped Kate plan the next day's work, explaining the sequence of remaining tasks and the approximate time each would require. The final day would focus on finishing details, hardware installation, and quality control processes that would determine whether the jeans met professional standards. "Tomorrow you'll see your hard work come together into a finished product," Sarah told Kate as they secured the partially completed jeans for overnight storage. "The finishing work requires different skills, but I think you'll find it very satisfying."
The drive back through Cardiff gave Kate time to process the day's experiences.
Her hands were sore from controlling heavy fabric and operating the industrial machine, but she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The skills she was learning represented generations of knowledge and tradition, passed down through families and communities of craftspeople. That evening, Kate called William to share her progress, though she remained vague about the specific nature of her project. She wanted the finished jeans to be a complete surprise, so she described her factory experience in general terms, while bubbling with excitement about the work she was doing. "You sound different," William observed during their conversation. "Energized in a way I haven't heard in a while." The physical work, the learning process, and the connections she was forming with the factory workers had indeed energized her in unexpected ways. This experience was proving to be much more than simply learning a craft. It was connecting her with a community and a way of life that existed far from royal duties and public expectations. The third day would bring the final challenges of her jeans-making adventure. Hardware installation, final stitching, and quality finishing would determine whether her ambitious project succeeded in creating a gift worthy of the effort and learning she had invested. But regardless of the technical outcome, Kate already knew the experience had changed her understanding of craftsmanship, community, and the satisfaction that comes from creating something meaningful with your own hands. Social media continued buzzing with updates about the princess's unusual project, but Kate found herself caring less about public reaction and more about meeting the standards of her factory mentors. Their approval and respect meant more than any media coverage, representing acceptance into a community defined by skill, dedication, and mutual support. Tomorrow would reveal whether her determination and newly acquired skills could produce jeans that William would be proud to wear, created by hands that had learned to value the ancient art of transforming raw materials into functional, beautiful objects. The final morning at Davies Denim Works arrived with an electricity in the air that Kate could feel the moment she stepped through the factory doors. Today would determine whether her 3-day journey would result in a pair of jeans worthy of the effort she had invested. The workers had arrived early, eager to witness the completion of what had become the most talked-about project in the factory's 60-year history. Tom Williams, the hardware specialist, had prepared a complete workstation with all the tools and materials needed for the final assembly process. Rivets, buttons, belt loops, and the specialized machinery required to install them were arranged with military precision. Kate approached the station with a mixture of excitement and nervousness, knowing that these final steps would test entirely different skills from the sewing work she had been mastering. "Today we turn your construction into proper jeans," Tom announced with obvious pride. "The hardware installation is what separates amateur work from professional quality. These components need to withstand years of stress and wash-in while maintaining their appearance and function." The first challenge involved installing the metal rivets at stress points throughout the jeans. These small but crucial components reinforced areas where the fabric experienced the greatest tension during normal wear. Kate learned that rivet installation required precise placement, proper hole preparation, and the application of significant force using specialized tools. Tom demonstrated the rivet setting process, showing Kate how to position the backing plate beneath the fabric and align the rivet components perfectly. The hydraulic press used for setting rivets operated with impressive power, capable of joining the metal components with force that would ensure they never came apart under normal use. Kate's first attempt at rivet installation proved more challenging than expected. The alignment had to be perfect, and the timing of the press operation critical. Too little pressure would result in a loose rivet that might fail over time, while too much pressure could damage the surrounding fabric. After several practice attempts on scrap material, Kate successfully installed her first rivet, the satisfying click of the press indicating proper installation. The process became increasingly routine as Kate worked her way through the various stress points on William's jeans. Each rivet represented a small victory, a tangible sign that her project was approaching completion. The repetitive nature of the work allowed her mind to wander, thinking about how William would react when he discovered the effort she had invested in creating his gift. Button installation presented its own unique challenges. The metal shank button used for jeans required precise hole creation and secure attachment that would withstand repeated stress from opening and closing. Kate learned to use the specialized hole-cutting tool, creating clean openings in the heavy denim without causing fraying or distortion. The button attachment process involved threading the shank through the hole and securing it with a metal backing plate. The specialized press used for this operation required precise alignment and careful pressure application. Kate's first attempt resulted in a slightly crooked button, but Tom encouraged her to remove it and try again, rather than accepting imperfect work. "In this business, there's no such thing as good enough," Tom explained as Kate prepared for her second attempt. "Every detail matters because people notice quality, even when they can't explain exactly what makes something look professional." The second button installation went perfectly, creating a secure attachment that looked and felt exactly like factory-quality work. Kate felt a surge of pride as she examined the result, noting how the proper installation technique had created a finish that was indistinguishable from mass-produced jeans. Belt loop attachment required returning to the sewing machine for precision top stitching. These seemingly simple fabric strips required exact placement and reinforcement stitching that would prevent them from tearing away from the main garment. Kate had to measure and mark each placement point, ensuring the loops were evenly spaced and properly aligned with the waistband. Sarah supervised this delicate operation, noting that belt loops were often the first component to fail on poorly constructed jeans. The stitching pattern had to provide maximum strength while maintaining an attractive appearance. Kate worked slowly and carefully. Her confidence with the industrial sewing machine now significantly improved from her first day's nervousness. The hem finishing process presented the final major technical challenge. Creating properly finished hems on heavyweight denim required special techniques to manage the bulk of multiple fabric layers while maintaining a professional appearance. Kate learned about different hem types and their appropriate applications, settling on a classic single-fold hem that would provide durability without excessive bulk. The precision required for measuring and marking the hemline tested all the skills Kate had developed over her 3 days at the factory. William's inseam measurement had to be maintained exactly, while ensuring both legs were identical in length. She measured and remeasured, using the techniques Sarah had taught her for achieving professional accuracy. The actual sewing of the hem challenged Kate's machine control skills to their limits. The multiple layers of heavy denim created significant bulk that threatened to jam the machine if not handled properly. She worked slowly and steadily, maintaining consistent stitch spacing and tension while managing the unwieldy fabric bulk. As Kate completed the final hem, the jeans began to look genuinely finished. The transformation from cut fabric pieces to wearable garment felt almost magical, representing the culmination of skills she had never imagined possessing just 3 days earlier. The weight and feel of the completed jeans suggested quality construction that would provide years of satisfactory wear. Margaret Davies called the entire factory workforce together for the final inspection of Kate's completed project. The workers gathered around Kate's workstation, their faces showing genuine interest in examining the quality of work produced by their royal apprentice. This informal quality control process represented a tradition at Davies Denim Works, where peer review ensured every garment met their exacting standards. The examination proved thorough and honest. Workers checked seam strength, hardware installation quality, and overall construction standards. They offered specific feedback about areas where Kate's technique had excelled and gentle suggestions about details that could be improved with more experience. The overall assessment was overwhelmingly positive, with several experienced workers commenting that the jeans met professional quality standards. "These are proper jeans," announced Jim Morris, a craftsman with over 40 years of experience. "You can tell they were made by someone who cared about the result, not just rushing through the process. Prince William should be proud to wear these." The formal presentation ceremony that followed felt both ceremonial and deeply personal. Margaret presented Kate with a certificate recognizing her completion of the factory's informal apprenticeship program, something typically reserved for workers who had demonstrated mastery of fundamental skills. The document represented recognition from craftspeople who had devoted their lives to this work. Kate carefully folded the completed jeans, marveling at the weight and substantial feel of the garment she had created. The deep indigo color had already begun developing subtle fading at stress points, suggesting the natural aging process that would make these jeans increasingly unique over time. Every detail, from the precisely installed rivets to the straight top stitching, represented skills she had learned and applied under expert guidance. The emotional impact of completing the project surprised Kate with its intensity. She had expected to feel satisfaction at finishing a challenging task, but the actual experience included elements she hadn't anticipated. The connection she had formed with the factory workers, the respect she had gained for their skills, and the personal accomplishment of mastering difficult techniques combined to create feelings that went far beyond simple task completion. As the workday ended, Kate took time to personally thank each worker who had contributed to her education. Their patience, expertise, and encouragement had made the entire experience possible. Many of them expressed genuine surprise at how much they had enjoyed teaching her, noting that her eagerness to learn and willingness to work hard had made the instruction process rewarding for them as well. The drive back through Cardiff provided time for reflection on the transformative nature of her 3-day experience. Kate realized that the jeans in her hands represented much more than a birthday gift for William. They symbolized her connection to a community of craftspeople, her newfound appreciation for skilled manual labor, and her personal growth through accepting and meeting a significant challenge. That evening, Kate presented the completed jeans to William with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had maintained complete secrecy about the specific nature of her factory project, so his reaction would be entirely genuine. When William unfolded the jeans and examined their construction, his surprise quickly gave way to admiration for both the quality of the work and the effort Kate had invested. "You actually made these yourself?" William asked, examining the professional quality stitching and hardware installation. "They look like something from an expensive boutique. I had no idea you were learning skills like this." Kate explained the entire 3-day process, sharing stories about the workers who had taught her and the challenges she had overcome in mastering unfamiliar techniques. William listened with growing amazement, clearly impressed by both the finished product and the journey that had created it. The jeans fit William perfectly, testament to Kate's careful attention to measurements and construction details. The heavyweight denim felt substantial and durable, while the precise tailoring ensured comfort and proper appearance. William declared them the most meaningful gift he had ever received, understanding that they represented not just material value, but personal investment and newly acquired skills. News of Kate's successful completion of her jeans-making project spread quickly through both traditional and social media. The story captured public imagination because it represented something genuine and personal in a world often dominated by manufactured publicity events. People responded positively to the image of a princess willing to learn practical skills alongside working-class craftspeople. The impact on Davies Denim Works proved equally significant. The publicity generated by Kate's visit brought new attention to their products and traditional manufacturing methods. Orders increased as consumers sought jeans made with the same care and attention that Kate had experienced. The factory hired additional workers to meet growing demand, providing economic benefits to the entire community. Margaret Davies later reflected that Kate's visit had transformed not just the princess's understanding of their work, but the workers' perception of themselves and their skills. Having their expertise valued and respected by someone of Kate's status had boosted morale and pride in ways that traditional recognition programs never could have achieved. For Kate, the experience established a lasting connection to craftsmanship and manual skills that influenced her approach to future royal engagements. She began seeking opportunities to learn about traditional trades and manufacturing processes, understanding that these experiences provided insights into communities and ways of life that formal visits could never reveal. The jeans themselves became a beloved part of William's wardrobe, developing character and fit through regular wear exactly as Tom and Sarah had predicted. The natural fading and softening process created unique characteristics that reflected William's activities and preferences, making them increasingly personal over time. Months later, Kate still maintained contact with several workers from Davies Denim Works, following up on their families and the factory's continued success. These relationships, formed through shared work and mutual respect, represented connections that transcended social boundaries and formal protocols. The entire experience reinforced Kate's belief that meaningful engagement required genuine participation rather than ceremonial observation. Her willingness to learn, struggle, and ultimately succeed alongside skilled craftspeople had created understanding and connections that would have been impossible through traditional royal visit protocols. The story of Princess Kate learning to make jeans became a symbol of authentic engagement between royalty and working communities. It demonstrated that respect and understanding could be built through shared effort and genuine interest in learning, creating bonds that benefited everyone involved. Years later, William still wore the jeans Kate had made, and she still treasured the certificate recognizing her completion of the Davies Denim Works apprenticeship program. Both items represented a transformative experience that had enriched their understanding of craftsmanship, community, and the satisfaction that comes from creating something meaningful with your own hands.